Welcome back to the corner of storytelling where surface noise fades and the heart of a tale is allowed to breathe. You're watching Turkish series stars. In an arena obsessed with spectacle, we're conditioned to hunt for the explosion, the mass unfollows, the arrows fired through captions, the messy accusations that turn intimacy into a public arena. But what happens when the loudest statement is the mercy of silence? What if a breakup isn't a demolition, but an intentional redesign of two lives? For weeks, the rumor mills have been chasing shadows around two of the most watched names in Turkish entertainment, the steadfast leading man, Baris Arduc, and the magnetic, mercurial artist, Elcin Sangu. The question that kept echoing, no matter how many times it was asked, is the love story over? Today, we can say with measured confidence that yes, their romantic chapter has closed. But if you think the curtain falls there, you're reading the wrong story. This isn't a tragedy. It's a recalibration. It's about a woman reshaping her identity by sharing moments of genuine joy, and a man who refuses to sell his private life to the highest bidder. Today on Turkish series stars, we're going to interpret the hush. We'll unpack the visual language Elcin has been composing, the steady restraint of Baris, and the unexpectedly graceful space that now exists between them. Before we step into this quiet revolution, a question for you. Is silence apathy, or is it a form of respect? Can two people actually step apart without tearing each other to pieces? If you appreciate deep, thoughtful storytelling about the stars you love, make sure you're subscribed to Turkish series stars. And if you want to support our independent voice and be part of the process, the join button is right there. Your membership helps us ask the questions that matter. Now, let's lean into the sound of a dignified farewell. To understand the parting, we need to revisit the beginning. From day one, the energy between Baris Arduc and Elcin Sangu felt like a study in contrast. He, the disciplined actor, mornings shaped by training, afternoons carved by set calls, a reputation defined by professionalism and an allergy to chaos. She, the artist who sways between scripts and melodies, a woman whose instincts bloom in spontaneity and whose social world hums with creativity. When they intersected, the press labeled it the harmony of opposites. It never felt staged. There were no orchestrated red carpets rolled out just to sell a project. There were no media rehearsals where they finished each other's sentences on cue. Their connection seemed to live in the margins of their packed calendars, in small windows where work loosened its grip. Living in the moment, those were the words that felt true then. Perhaps that's why the way it ended mirrors the way it began. The separation arrived wrapped in velvet quiet. Nothing leaked, nothing weaponized. No anonymous sources hurling bitterness into headlines. It was a slow unbraiding of two lives that had run parallel for a time, and then, gently, found their own lanes again. In the gossip ecosystem, the absence of mayhem became a puzzle. Is this a breakup, or a careful stepping back? The answer appears simple and yet radical in a world hooked on drama. It is a breakup, executed with disarming maturity. With no official statement to feed on, the spotlight shifted to Elcin Sangu's Instagram. The world braced for the usual playbook, the revenge dress, the midnight quotes dripping with subtext, a lyric cast like a dart. But Elcin did something else. She gave the audience a gallery of peace. She began to speak through images, and those images vibrated with life. We saw the flash of a theme park, believed by many to be Istanbul, where laughter hangs in the air like confetti. We saw the glow of an aquarium's blue cathedral, children pressing close to the glass as stingrays slid by like living brushstrokes. In the clips, the sound was joy. Even when she wasn't visible, you could feel her touch in the framing, the colors, the timing of a shot that waits just long enough to catch a burst of laughter. Winter may have tried to dim the world, but her palette stayed warm, saturated, defiantly hopeful. These were not the posts of a woman curled beneath a blanket of heartbreak. These were dispatches from a person choosing vitality. The statement was soft and unmistakable: life continues, and so do I. The pain wasn't denied, it was simply not allowed to dominate her canvas. A theme began to crystallize in that visual diary: caretaking, family, the tender gravity of being present for the small ones in your life. Without leaning into clichés or martyrdom, Elcin offered moments of quiet intimacy. Hands held in crowded places, a child's wide-eyed wonder in front of the sea life glow, nature observed up close, animals approached with gentleness. And yes, the inevitable commentary had been around her for years: too free, too mercurial, too restless. The old accusations are always ready to be recycled. Yet without a single paragraph of defense, she let the images refute them. Freedom and responsibility, she seemed to say, can coexist. You can be spontaneous and dependable, artistic and steady. By turning the camera toward innocence and resilience, she managed to lower the gossip's volume without ever engaging with it directly. There was no press release about who she is, she simply showed us how she lives. This recalibration in public perception is compelling. It invites a larger conversation about how we measure and mismeasure women in the spotlight. Tell us in the Turkish series stars community. Is social media the most powerful tool for reclaiming identity after a breakup? Or is true strength the act of stepping completely offline? While you reflect on that, don't forget to tap like. It helps our channel thrive and allows us to keep bringing you stories with texture and care. And if you want to go all in, click join. Members get badges and a little extra attention in the comments. Your support fuels Turkish series stars. There was another detail tucked inside Elcin's recent posts that the sharp-eyed didn't miss: a kitten. A plush, dignified British Shorthair. To some, a pet is just a pet. But within celebrity symbolism, bringing an animal home after a separation reads like a thesis on domestic intention. A kitten demands routine, patience, gentleness. It's a whisper of roots. It signals, I'm creating a safe habitat. I'm curating calm. In the soft fur of that cat, you could read a philosophy. Build warmth, cultivate order, protect tenderness. It suggested a home where the outside tempest stays outside, where the pace is hers to set. Alongside the cocooning, there was a professional reemergence. Elcin returned to the stage lights, this time not as a shout for attention but as a measured act of artistry. Whether in a rehearsal room where laughter bounces off scuffed floors, or on a set where the lenses are unforgiving, her presence felt more curated, more deliberately personal. She made it unmistakable that she had not abandoned her craft for love, she had carried it like a compass. And the artist who has come back now feels more selective, less eager to please, more in control of what she gives and to whom. She is no one's accessory and no one's ex. She is a maker of worlds, a voice that can choose silence or song. Inevitably, the question arises, was her time with Baris a turning point? The evidence suggests yes, less a loss than a lesson. She seems to have distilled the intensity of that chapter into a deeper, steadier version of herself. And what, then, of Baris Arduc? Faced with this subtle evolution from the woman he once stood beside, what did he do? Precisely what many expected, he stayed on his path. No veiled digs folded into captions. No midnight leaks to friendly bylines. No emotive interviews guiding the public toward a chosen narrative. He stood by his code, quiet, disciplined, committed. This matters. It underscores the reading that the breakup was a conclusion, not a fight. By refusing to feed the rumor machine, he guarded the dignity of what they shared. His silence doesn't feel like absence, it feels like respect. He kept working, training, showing up for the causes he supports, grounding himself in routines that have always been his anchor. If his center of gravity has a name, it's purpose. Among the more credible columns, a thoughtful theory has surfaced that refuses the easy binary of together or destroyed. The whispers suggest that while Baris and Elcin have stepped out of romance, they haven't burned the bridge entirely. Not the messy late-night pinging of the stereotypical ex dynamic, not the cling of nostalgia masquerading as connection. Rather, a distant, adult line of communication, available when needed, absent when not. An acknowledgement of history without performing it. The possibility of a careful friendship that exists beyond the stage lights. The shock isn't that they broke up, it's the blueprint they drew afterward. She didn't paint herself as a victim. He didn't try to erase her. They moved back toward their cores. She spoke through care and craft, he spoke through consistency and work. Perhaps that's why this story has people leaning in, because nobody tried to obliterate anybody else. It's rare to witness a separation where the victory is not in holding on, but in returning to oneself. In the end, the saga of Baris Arduc and Elcin Sangu refused the melodrama many were braced for. It became a narrative of maturation. Elcin reintroduced herself as a creator, a grounded presence in her family sphere, and a woman of intention, hinting steadily, "I am here, and I am okay." Baris reaffirmed that his professionalism is a fortress, protecting the parts of his life that belong only to him. This isn't the chronicle of a feud. It's the anatomy of a goodbye. No theatrical promises of reconciliation, no tragic epilogues. Just two people departing the same road with gratitude for the miles already shared. And maybe the clearest truth is this: nothing about this ending made either of them smaller. If anything, it brought them closer to the shape of who they've always been. Thank you for spending time with us here at Turkish Series Stars. We hope this journey gave you a new lens for endings that don't roar, but resonate. If you found value in this, tell us in the comments. Do you admire their silence, or do you want the clarity of a statement? And don't forget to hit join if you want to sustain stories like this. Until we meet again, remember, the quiet choices often carry the greatest force. Goodbye.